show is AD on the radio. What?
Today on the show, Stone Temple Pilots visit to talk about the 25th anniversary of the release of their game-changing debut album, Core. They're also bringing us an exclusive on their new frontman and new music. Not only that, Donald Trump visited Puerto Rico, and it's just weird.
Wait, STP is going to play us new music with their new lead singer on this show?
That's what they're telling us.
Welcome to the future, where the glass is half full and you'll need new glasses, where you'll be jumping from conclusions.
The past is annulled, and a new future is born.
Never before in history has so much meant so little to so many. AD on the radio.
Hey, Funkhauser, play Cracker Man.
Cracker Man?
Yes, Cracker Man.
Well, okay.
Yes! Kicks so much ass. Far and away my favorite song off of this album.
Well, yeah, it's like I hear this song and think, oh, I should probably move my car out of the street. Something's coming. Go!
So good. There's that distorted vocal before everybody and their grandma was doing it.
Did he carry around a megaphone with him?
On stage, yeah, he did. This song is windows down, volume up, driving fast away from somebody that you don't care for. That's what I always got from this one. Hey, Funkhauser, why are we playing?
Why are you asking me? You asked me to play this one. I mean, I did not complain about it.
Oh, that's true. I guess I should tell you
this
why.
This whole album is awesome.
Yeah, I guess I should tell you why we are playing my favorite song off of the legendary Stone Temple Pilots debut album.
Yeah, this isn't one of the big ones, you know?
No, this is my favorite one. It's not necessarily one of the biggest, but it's my favorite. And the reason we're doing this is because Core is celebrating its 25th anniversary this month. It was released 25 years ago this month. And get this, the guys from Stone Temple Pilots are coming in to talk about that.
What?
Yes.
This album can now rent a car without a parental guardian.
This album's been drinking for 4 years.
Well,
this
we can
album
tell.
has been getting busy for the last 7, if you know what I mean, and I think you're doing. 25 years old.
That's
all
quite
right.
apparent.
Let's
it won't let me turn it down.
So good. So good. All right, so we're really excited.
They're coming
Eric
in?
and Dean from Stone Temple Pilots are coming in to talk to us about the 25th anniversary of their legendary debut album, Core. They're dropping a deluxe edition of it, a 4-CD DVD version of it with a bunch of B-sides and demos, and if you're a collector, it's actually kind of freaking cool. There's a couple legendary live performances as well, and we'll get into all of that. You know what I'm really interested to talk to them about, though, Funkhauser? At the time that Stone Temple Pilots were coming out, they were living in San Diego. The DeLeo brothers are from New Jersey, but they were living in San Diego, California, a place where I'm on the air. One of the radio stations
I'm so
on
excited
is
about this
5.3 in San Diego.
I'm so excited about this because I know nothing about the band, and I'm going to learn so much.
They started out in San Diego, California, one of the cities where I'm on the radio, and I'm really curious to know, having spent a decent chunk of time in San Diego, what the music scene was like then, because San Diego was also the home of Eddie Vedder before he moved to Seattle and joined Pearl Jam. He was in a band called Bad Radio back in the day with Brad Wilk, who went on to play drums in Rage Against the Machine, and there was just a lot going on. So really, really curious to talk to them, talk about what it was like when they were getting ready to make this record and whether or not they knew it was going to become the single biggest album of the year when it did, in fact, drop. Anyways, we'll do that later. Right now, though, Funkhauser, did you see what happened when President Trump went to Puerto Rico?
Sorta.
I wasn't going to talk about this, but look, yesterday we went on the air and discussed Trump and his sort of relationship with the catastrophe in Puerto Rico post Hurricane Maria. And I got so many emails and so many tweets from people that went, you know what? That's the thing about this guy. That's the thing about this guy. He has a very hard time seeing beyond himself. Maybe not necessarily in a rude or intentional way, but in a doesn't know how to act textbook narcissist sort of way. And, well, that went out over the air. And now people are going, okay, he actually went to Puerto Rico. What do you think of what happened? And I hadn't planned on talking about it because we're going to be talking to the guys from STP today, but we'll get into it in a little bit, especially the sort of like T-shirt cannon large sports event thing that he did with the paper towels. That was
You get a towel. You want to roll?
Move.
Okay, good. Here it goes. Look out. I'm an excellent shot. Here it goes. Go to the guy with the hat over there.
Let's start the show.
Where the left and right come together for fundamental truths. AD on the radio, on Twitter at ADSXE.
Listen to the drum fills. Listen.
I mean, it's fine as it is, and then Scott comes in and makes it, triplet phonic.
Well, it's just like you hear this, and no one else would have come in with such a strong sense of melody. We are, of course, blasting our favorite songs off of Stone Temple Pilots' legendary debut album, Core, because Stone Temple Pilots are coming in to talk about the 25th anniversary of their legendary debut album, Core, in just a little bit. Right now, though,
we're probably going to play all the songs. I hope you know.
I'm fine with that. Let's enjoy it as much as we possibly can. So the plan was not to talk about Donald Trump today, but yesterday we spoke at length about what was going on in Puerto Rico and how he somehow managed to make a catastrophe for the people of Puerto Rico, where people are without food, without water, without fuel, without knowledge of the lives of their loved ones that they're trying to relocate, without the ability to contact people, without electricity. He somehow managed to make it about him, which is, it's not so much he's a bad person. It's not so much that he was malicious in his intent as he is, I think, a textbook narcissist. My theory on this one was further supported by Donald Trump's visit to Puerto Rico. Did you see or did you hear what happened? I don't know if you caught it or not, but here, I'm going to play you, Donald Trump, talking to a crowd of folks in Puerto Rico. And I honestly believe that as unspeakable and inhuman as this stuff sounds coming out of his mouth, well, I genuinely think that in his own way, he was well-intentioned with this. Here, have a listen.
Mick Mulvaney is here, right there, and Mick is in charge of a thing called budget. Now, I hate to tell you, Puerto Rico, but you've thrown our budget a little out of whack because we've spent a lot of money on Puerto Rico, and that's fine. We've saved a lot of lives. If you look at the every death is a horror. But if you look at a real catastrophe like Katrina, and you look at the tremendous hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that died, and you look at what happened here with really a storm that was just totally overpowering. Nobody's ever seen anything like this. Now, what is your death count as of this moment? 17?
16 certified.
16 people certified. 16 people versus in the thousands. You can be very proud of all of your people, all of our people working together. 16 versus literally thousands of people.
So, I mean, here's the deal. Start with a joke. Hey, you're costing us a lot of money. Okay, that's not cool. Obviously, that's not cool. But I honestly think he intended to start with a joke. You know, hey, in these situations, a little levity would be good. Then, hey, how many of you have died? How many? Hey, death count? 16. Hey, in Katrina, it was hundreds. And look, a sensitive human being, a normal human being, might have framed it up this way. And I honestly believe this is the point he was trying to make, what he was getting at. The storm was record-breakingly devastating. One of the most terrible weather events in modern history. Yet, your response to it, you coming together as a people the way you did, has mitigated the damage, and you should be very, very proud of yourselves for that. Instead, he went, hey, 16 dead? That's not that many. Hey, yo, could have been a lot worse. Could have been like Katrina. Oh, man, the death count on that thing was sick. And like I said, it's not necessarily that he's a bad or malicious person with these things that he's saying. I don't think he's going down there going like, I'm going to stick it to the Puerto Ricans. I think he's just devoid of the knowledge of how to act in these situations because, look, I'm hashtag not a doctor, but I'm going to go on a limb and guess textbook narcissist. He joked about Puerto Rico being a financial burden. Like, yeah, addressing a large group of people. What do they say about these situations? Oh, yeah, start with a joke. Yeah, maybe when you're talking to a bunch of the glitterati at some sort of glamorous charity function in New York City. But in this case, levity, not appropriate, and any normal human being could have seen that. I hate to tell you, Puerto Rico, but you've thrown our budget a little out of whack. We've spent a lot of money on Puerto Rico, and that's fine. We've saved a lot of lives. Is essentially going, you're a burden. That's okay. It's okay. But you are a burden, just so you know. But it's fine because, you know, human life. And then the way he compared the death tolls of the two different cities, like I said, there's a lot of people who 100 million % can't stand Trump and think he is evil incarnate. And I'm going to play devil's advocate and go, no, he's just not wired like the rest of us. And I'm not making an excuse. I'm not saying that anything that he said was okay. I'm just trying to get to the root and sort of understand a little bit. And if it seems completely illogical and foreign and inhuman to behave the way he did in that situation, it's because it is straight up not normal. It's not okay, and it's not normal, but I think that comes from maybe an even deeper rooted place than him just being a jackass that doesn't care about anyone but himself.
Don't get the blues, get all the news. We mean all of you guys out there in Radio Land. All aboard!
He's back. AD on the radio.
Give it up, yeah. Give it up, yeah. Bring this on, come on, come on.
So 25 years ago, the guys in Stone Temple Pilots released their legendary debut album, Core. Sex Type Thing, Wicked Garden, Cracker Man, Creep, list goes on and on and on of songs that made themselves a part of the soundtrack to our lives off of that record. It was certified 8 times platinum. And to celebrate the 25th anniversary of this album, they're coming in and talking to us, which we look forward to.
Finally, a fun day.
I guess for the rest of the time that we got left, we're just sort of like, I don't know, goofing off and talking about the events of today in the news. Shall we do that, Funkhauser?
This is My Witness News. In no way, shape, or form fair and certainly not balanced. And now, super producer to the stars, Barry Funkhauser. Barry Funkhauser.
Oh.
Barry Funkhauser. Barry Funkhauser.
Never gets old.
I always think there's one more left, and then it's not.
Oh, really?
Barry Funkhauser.
I know when it's the last one because our voice guy, our legendary voice guy, Shadow Stevens, really gives that last one the extra bit of oomph that signals now Funkhauser's going to talk.
Well, the Tom Cruise movie American Made decided not to shoot a scene of Bill Clinton getting a lap dance.
Yeah, I heard about that. They decided against it. I think they wanted to shoot it, but I think Bill would only give him permission if they let him play himself, and they were not prepared to do that. Didn't want to get taken out by Hillary Clinton's laser beam eyes, so they negated to do that particular part of the movie. What else?
Hill Dog would be cool with it, I think.
I don't know if Hill Dog will be cool with it. I would imagine Hill Dog would be used to it at this stage of the game. Go on.
There's a new Sonic the Hedgehog movie in the works.
Oh, Sonic the Hedgehog. A movie?
I can't wait to hit C 12 times.
Yeah. I think in order to ensure that movie is a screaming success, to ensure optimum ticket sales of the Sonic the Hedgehog movie when it does eventually come out, I think if they could figure out a way to release it in 1991, they'd be golden. There's a weird, so my brother-in-law actually worked with Sonic the Hedgehog. There's a Sonic the Hedgehog comic book that's really humongous, and it's this ancient video game, but apparently it's sort of taken on a life of its own, so it might be one of those things where there's enough hard data existing in the nerdiverse that there's a segment of society that is large enough to warrant a Sonic the Hedgehog movie. We'll wait and see. But if you were a movie producer and you had, I don't know, tens of millions of dollars burning a hole in your pocket, Funkhauser, would you be like, yeah, that video game Hedgehog from the early 90s, that's what I'm going to bank on? Would that be a thing you would do?
I think so. I think so, probably. I think it's an interesting risk because, nostalgia's in.
Well,
right
maybe
now.
It's an act of supreme vision on their part. We'll wait and see.
I wonder if Tails will be with it, or that'll come in the second run. He's always helicoptering, flying in. It's the player 2 that's not really a player 2.
I never really played Sonic the Hedgehog. That wasn't a thing. Because Sonic the Hedgehog, I think, was for Sega. I think Sega was the gaming system, I was a fan. I didn't have a Sega. I didn't have the Sega Mega Drive, nor did I have a Super Nintendo. But if I had to choose which friend's house I was going over to, and one had a Sega and the other one had a Nintendo, I would go to the Nintendo kid's house because, well, who doesn't enjoy being laughed at by a cartoon dog when missing the duck in Duck Hunt? Answer, no one. Go on.
President Trump tossed rolls of paper towels into a crowd in Puerto Rico.
Yeah. Like it was a sporting event, and those were T-shirts.
You get a towel, and you get a towel.
Not even towel. You get a paper towel. Paper towels for you, and for you, and for you. Well, here's the thing you got to bear in mind. If you're looking at President Trump tossing paper towel rolls into a crowd of people in Puerto Rico that have lost everything, you got to remember, it's not golfing or threatening to nuke a dangerous enemy. So baby steps, people. Baby steps. And you know what? I was thinking about this, Funkhauser. I was thinking about this. It's fitting that the paper towels were tossed out by a guy who is really, and I mean really, self-absorbed. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
The U.S. voted no on a UN resolution to ban the death penalty for homosexuality.
Yeah, that was unbelievably disappointing. There's a UN resolution, bans the death penalty for homosexuality. You would think that would be an unbelievably clear-cut thing to do. Even the folks that would insist that it says in the Bible, homosexuality is a sin. Even the folks that harp on about that. And by the way, if we're going with all those things, stop eating delicious shrimp dinners from Red Lobster, because that's also not allowed, and neither is that cotton poly blend you're wearing there, that Old Navy thing that you got going on. That would be against the specific writings of the book of Leviticus. So there's that. It says don't eat shrimp in the Bible way more than it says don't be a homosexual in the Bible. So even for the people that would harp on about that tired old argument, it's a stretch. It's a stretch for even those folks to, in any way, shape, or form, feel like it's okay anywhere in the world that there's a death penalty associated with homosexuality. So the fact that we And I say we because we get the government we deserve, I feel. And in this case, it's just so completely morally repugnant and reprehensible that this even exists in the world, but even more so that the U.S. voted no on a resolution to ban the death penalty for homosexuality. It just boggles my freaking mind. And I know. Look, there's no person on the face of the planet or the radio that makes more of an effort to see things from both sides than I do. But it's a binary choice. Do you think people should be killed for being gay? Yes or no? And the answer should be no. So there's that. It's disgusting. Go on.
Florida surgeon is going to jail for a series of botched penis enlargement surgeries.
Which means if you live in Florida, you're just going to have to deal with your tiny junk the old-fashioned way. Just buy a Porsche.
Aw.
Or just be happy. Just be happy going around with the equipment that you were dealt. I don't know. What is that a fair thing to say? Maybe that's not very empathetic. Maybe.
Whatever makes you happy, man. If you need a Porsche, that's okay, I think.
I don't know. I wonder. You know what I wonder about people that deal with the enlargement surgery? I wonder how many people are genuinely. What's the situation they call it when a micro?
Maybe there's a very small, huge problem. Is that what you're saying?
Well, no. But I mean, I think there are situations where you have what is known as a micro, and that is really, really small. And in those situations, I could imagine wanting to just get to normal, and I have sympathy for that. Now, the people that are somewhere in the range of normal that just want more. I wonder about that one because I could never elect to have surgery done on that, and I'm not. John Holmes, yours truly, is not. But you know what the procedure that makes that thing more substantial is called, Funkhauser?
No,
snip and drop.
Huh?
Yeah, and if you are still interested in getting the surgery done on your intimate and dangly areas after you find out that surgery is called the snip and drop, that's where you and I are different. But to each their own. And I didn't mean to be short-sighted and say, why would you bother getting that? But, and like I said, if you are genuinely in a situation where you are, maybe you're just, like I said, dealing with a micro, and it's very hard to lead a normal and happy and fulfilling life. But if you just want the reassurance that comes with being equipped like King Kong, maybe the work that needs to be done is on your head as
elsewhere,
opposed to things that are going on south of the equator. All right, I think we've talked about that.
I'm going back to playing Duck Hunt, though. I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, you got him. Good job.
I'm a pro, man.
Go on, Funkhauser. What else?
A new study says 1/3 of smartphone notifications make our mood worse. I agree, 100%. Go away.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I got a text message from someone or I got an email from someone and I went, oh boy, I'm so happy. But I guess people look at their phone. Whenever I get a text message, especially on the week, I'm like, what the hell do they want? Without even seeing who it is. It could be my mom going like, oh, hello, how are you? I've sent you a gift in the mail. Be on the lookout for it. My initial response doesn't matter who it is. I haven't even looked at the phone yet. Who the hell wants what from me? So I get that. But then there's the flip side of that situation where you get that little dopamine rush. The world is addicted to the little dopamine rush that you get from finding out that you've got Facebook notifications and potential. It's interesting. Funkhauser, if you got a text message, you'd probably be like, what the hell, man? But if you found out that you got a Facebook message, you'd probably be like, oh, someone wants to say hello to the funky. Am I correct on this one?
Uh-huh. How you know me so well.
It's interesting. What else? Oh,
come on,
I like this song.
everybody, clap your hands. Oh, you're looking good. I'm going to sing my song. It won't take
Chubby Checker is 76 today.
He's not a thin checker. He's not an average size checker. He is Chubby Checker, and he's 76 years old this week. 76, huh?
76. Can he still do those moves?
I don't know if he can still do the twisty moves, but I would imagine that at age 76, the only time he lives up to the name Chubby is when he takes a little blue pill. All right, we should move right along after that and not discuss it anymore. Go on.
Oprah denies she's running for president.
You know, it's an interesting one to be sure
Oprah
because
for president.
This is the second round of rumors that we've had about Oprah potentially running for president, and this time, apparently, the idea that she could be making a run at the White House in 2020 came from what people are calling credible insider sources. So it would appear as though even if she's not doing it, she's given it some thought. And one of the byproducts of the Donald Trump presidency is it means that, well, you no longer have to have had a career as a professional politician to be leader of the free world and president of these United States of America. So it's really opened things up. And a lot of people, well, look, Oprah has dedicated fans doesn't even begin to cover it. There are people that indulge in Oprah worship. There are people that would cry if they saw her in person. And so naturally, there's a lot of people that would pull the lever of democracy for Oprah Winfrey.
Would you vote for Oprah?
I don't think I would, even though it would be fun to get health care by looking under our chairs. That sounds like a good time.
Sometimes you just know you're done. You're longing for that shining sun. You walk these streets most every day. You're waiting to get washed away.
Now, more AD on the radio.
Yes. Do you remember the video for this song, Funkhauser?
No, not really.
I remember seeing the video for this song and hearing the music and be like, man, this band kicks ass. And Scott Weiland in the video is like, he is the absolute antithesis of all the nice flannel shirt wearing bands that were coming out at the time talking about their feelings. He just looked angry and ready to pounce like an uncaged animal. That's what it looked like to me when I saw the video for this song, and I was immediately scared a little bit by watching it, which I think is the hallmark of good rock and roll. If it can scare a kid a little bit, there's probably something there, and as it turns out, there really was. This is, of course, off of the debut album by Stone Temple Pilots, Core, which is celebrating its 25th anniversary today, and in honor of that fact, the guys from Stone Temple Pilots are here. We're going to be talking to them in just a little bit and celebrating this landmark achievement of, well, having been a band for this long, a band that has weathered some serious storms and massive amounts of ups and downs, from what I understand. Do you remember a little while ago, Funkhauser? They came on the show and they talked about, they came on the show to announce that they were launching a search for a new lead singer. And they were listening to absolutely every submission. It was like, we don't want to get another rock star. We don't want someone who's going to have this be a part-time gig. We want a singer. We want a singer that kicks ass. We want a singer of Stone Temple Pilots, and we want that to be their main gig. Because, of course, they worked with the late, great Chester Bennington of Linkin Park for a little while, but ultimately, he had other things to be getting on with in terms of his work in Linkin Park. Anyways, they were on the show last when they announced they were looking for a new singer. They're back today talking about the 25th anniversary of their legendary album Core, and we will get into all of this. We're going to.
I think they're ready now.
Oh, you think they're ready now?
Yeah. Well, the lights are turning on, so I think they're ready. Yeah.
All right.
Here they come. They come. They come.
Very good. Oh, Stone Temple Pilots in the house. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
So one of the stations that this is going to air on is Rock 105.3 in San Diego. And you guys kind of sort of came out of San Diego, correct?
I have that station, preset in my car. I'm in Los Angeles, and sometimes on cloudy days I can just get glimpses of it. So, if you guys could just up the wattage just a little bit,
oh my God,
it would dominate the LA territory as well.
I'm completely feeling the warm and fuzzies from Stone Temple Pilots right now. Thank you so much for listening. That's awesome. I'll see what I can do about the signal boost. In the meantime, iHeartRadio is the way to go. You can listen to us on that. But what do you guys remember about San Diego and the musical scene here at the time that you guys were getting ready to release a game-changing album?
We were playing at a little place downtown called Bodie's an awful lot. And there was friends of mine, Josh Higgins and Gary Shuffler and Dave, who were in, and Mike, of course, who were in Honey Glaze. And Josh and I became very close, and really they were very, very kind to us. And I was actually living in San Diego.
Mm-hmm. Which part of town, just because people will want to know?
I was right off the 52.
But go on.
Down there. So, like I said, Josh and Gary and I really hit it off, and we became friends. And those guys were really, really kind. They kind of took us under their wing and gave us some opening slots, opening for them at the Casbah. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how we got our foot in the door at the Casbah. We never really played there other than opening for Honey Glaze. Mm-hmm. But Brett Bodie allowed us to play his place quite a bit. And then we played, of course, Soma and... we actually played the Bacchanal one night.
Oh, that's right.
Believe that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Over there in Kearney Villa Road. But, so yeah, that's kind of what we were doing. And, we were trying to play everywhere and anywhere we could. We were covering ground from San Diego to Fresno to San Francisco and just getting out every weekend and playing wherever we could. And,
but I got to say, when we're doing the San Diego shows, myself, Scott, and Robert would drive down, and Dean would have to not only have us, sleeping on his floor, but usually there'd be about 20, 30 people after each show.
Well, to ensure we had some people at Bodie's, we'd preface the show with kind of a gathering. A small gathering with about 80 people at my house. And we'd say, all right, we have to be on in an hour, so we better start moseying down. But that's kind of how it went.
It's amazing to think that, here we are celebrating the 25th anniversary of a game-changing album, and it all started with shows at Bodie's and the Casbah, and you tricking people into going to those shows by being like, there's a party beforehand, and that way we can get people through the door. Do you ever stop and think about, it's incredible how far we've come, because you're part of a handful of game-changing bands that came out at that time. Did you have any sense of that when you were ushering your 80 friends from your apartment to the venue to try and get invited back?
Honestly, man, it seems it's another lifetime ago. And I'm in a chapter in my life now that I feel like I'm in the best years of my life. And I kind of really dig living in the present.
And that's probably a way healthier way to go through life. But part of your present, my friend, is celebrating the 25th anniversary of an album that put you guys on the map, and it should be celebrated. So we're going to talk about this new reissue of your debut album, Core, and what people can expect to get when they open up the box. And we'll do that next. Right after we enjoy a little bit of this.
Forward yesterday makes me want to stay. What they said was real makes me want to steal. Living on the house, guess I'm living on Mars. All's I got is time, got no meaning, just a rhyme. Take time with a wanted hand, 'cause it likes to hear. Take time with a wounded hand, 'cause it likes to steal. Take time with a wounded hand, 'cause it likes to heal. I like to steal. I'm half the man I used to be. Well, I'm half the man I used to be.
There's something happening here, and you should know what it is. The Dumbing Up of America. Now, more AD on the radio.
So we are lucky enough to be joined in the studio today by Eric and Dean from Stone Temple Pilots, and they're here because we are celebrating the 25th anniversary of their debut album, Core, an album that was an absolute game changer, an album that went on to sell 8 million copies plus. And we're going to talk to them a little bit about the deluxe anniversary edition of Core that has been released to recognize this momentous year, right after we enjoy this, the song that changed everything and put them on the map. Celebrating the 25th anniversary of the album Core, the album that changed everything, the album that put Stone Temple Pilots on the map. And in celebration of this date, this occasion, you guys have a new deluxe edition of Core that's been released. What are we going to get with that?
Oh, we got a ton of stuff on here. There's one CD that's got demos that we did before making the album Core, and we got some B-sides on it as well. And then we have some live stuff from the Reading Festival, 1993, in England. And there's some live shows from Castaic Lake, from just north of Los Angeles.
Was that 93 as well?
Yeah, 93. Yeah. That's when we're on tour with the Butthole Surfers, Flaming Lips.
Right.
Great tour. And
those are really live too.
Yeah, there's just 2-track, right? They're
not multi-track. The live recordings you hear on this were recorded in stereo. So there's a lot of people that call their albums live. Well, this is truly live, gentlemen.
Very impressive. And it's funny you mentioned the Reading Festival. I actually grew up in London, and I remember my friend coming back from America being like, there's this band, Stone Temple Pilots, you got to check them out. Getting my mom to drive me to Our Price Records and buy a Core compact disc.
Enough of this. We got to talk about something really important. So, Notting Hill.
Notting Hill.
Windsor Castle.
Sure.
You been there?
Of course. I mean, I grew up in...
Best fish and chips ever.
Yes, fantastic.
Well, I mean, here's the thing about London and England in general. Like, I remember my grandfather coming over and wanting fish and chips. And, like for 50 pence, we got sort of like fish, chips, wrapped up in newspaper and brown vinegar. And he was like, you don't understand what a good piece of cod this is. Like, you can't get this in America. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. It is next level fish and chips in Blighty. But it's also like I remember taking this CD home, putting it on. Sorry to distract from the fish and chips, and just hearing it. We can talk about.
I was
all
thinking
that
about
later.
some of the Indian food restaurants too that are just so good.
Amazing Indian food. Yeah.
When you go to an Indian restaurant in America and you let them know that you grew up in England, they're like, right, we're bringing out the real stuff. Like the gloves are off, so you're completely right on that one. But I remember seeing you guys. I remember putting on Core, listening to Dead and Bloated coming out of my speakers and going, what the hell was this? And to this day, whenever I hear Core, I'm like, this is the first song off of that album. Do you hear stories from other people being like, I remember where I was, how it went down when I first heard your music? I got to imagine you do.
Not so much that story of where they were when they first heard it, but just how much they played it throughout college or road trip, and they just continually play it. It's really kind of holds up. Dead and Bloated is such a wicked song, man. It's just so loud from the distorted vocal in the beginning to just to where the band kicks in. It's every time I hear that, I'm still like, oh, this is good.
Yeah, that downbeat, that from Scott, that distorted vocal into those two snare hits to that downbeat. When the band kind of comes in, it's definitely it's still exciting, man. Still exciting.
I mean,
I don't really hear stories from that. It's more Plush.
Really?
Just the other morning, I brought my daughter to school, and I'm standing there, and I kind of, we're only 3 weeks into the school year, and this guy that I kind of see there, he kind of sheepishly comes over and he goes, I just want to tell you, man, like, Plush was my anthem. Like, well, far out, man. Yeah. Cool. But you hear wacky stuff, you hear wacky stuff. We are looking at 25 years ago, and you have, like, people that are in their, 40s, and they say, oh, man, I was in the back of a car. It was my first time, and Plush was on the radio. I'm like, okay, man, all right, I got it.
That's interesting. Well,
yeah.
But that's the thing. Whether it was a first time in the backseat of somebody's automobile and you were the soundtrack to young and inexperienced passion.
I'm glad we could be of service.
Right.
I like how you put that.
Yeah,
young and inexperienced passion.
Young and inexperienced. I believe I had some young and inexperienced, passionate moments to your records as well. But like the thing, very inexperienced and very brief too. But I think the thing the interesting part of it is, I don't know if you have a sense of this. That guy coming up to you and telling you that you have written the soundtracks to large chunks of our lives, and there's something about the legacy of it where it takes time for this stuff to get into people's DNA, and you made records over the years that got into people's DNA. Good job.
You make us sound like
you.
some kind of crazy chemist and scientist getting into people's DNA, but
a rarefied space.
It is the power of music, man. I mean, it's I can think about some of the albums that turned me onto that stuff, and it's just they do certain songs and certain albums kind of in your mind and your memory banks bring you back to a certain time in life.
Kratz, what was your first concert?
My first concert was Peter Frampton.
Nice.
1977.
Nice.
So Frampton Comes Alive was out for a year?
Yeah, and it had Leonard Skinner, The Outlaws, and Santana. It was a day on the green up in Oakland.
Oh, my gosh.
Now, get this. This is back when I was 11 years old. My brother and sister, who were 2 and 3 years older than me, we got on the train, and parents sent us up to this, 100,000 plus day on the green concert. Okay, make sure you're back by 10 o'clock to catch the last train.
That's amazing.
There's no way that 11-year-old kids would go on their own now.
It's amazing.
To concerts and parents not be freaking out.
I just can't believe that you guys have been in a band together this long, and this is the first time you've told each other the first concert story. That's amazing. I feel like a fly on the wall at a major moment.
No, I'm sure he's told me that before, but it's like, well, what really came to mind for me was that 25 years, like, these poor bastards had to put up with me for 25 years.
So if you Frampton Comes Alive, that might be your moment. If you had to pick a moment, whether it was like a record or a performance or something of that nature that made you go, music, I got to do music, what would it be? If his was Frampton.
I'll jump on this first. Mine was let's just say I left high school early one day for a few hours to a friend's house, And we snuck into his brother's room, and he had these giant clipped speakers, and he put on Houses of the Holy.
Oh, boy.
And it just blew my mind. I knew
Gods have arrived.
At that moment, it's my compass said, I'm going in that direction.
And were you already playing at that time?
Yeah, I was probably 13, 14. I mean, I was starting to play drums, but playing beats and things. But when you hear that power, it was coming from Led Zeppelin. It was like, oh, that's the band sound. It's not just because you like a song. It was a band sound that just blew my mind and said, oh, I get it now.
Well, Kretz was playing with some monsters when he was a kid up there in the Bay Area, man. He was playing with really, really great players. They never could find anybody that could sing that high.
Yeah, we could never. We did a lot of Rush and Yes and King Crimson. We played a lot of stuff at a lot of mostly college frat parties because those guys could appreciate the prog rock on top of some Black Sabbath and some
now we're talking.
And some other rock stuff. But we always had a hard time finding singers, so I did a lot of instrumental stuff in the early years.
I always felt like kind of your band in some ways it was sweet relief for people that couldn't hit the high notes, because all of it, like I feel like in the sort of previous to you guys coming out, if a singer couldn't break glass with his voice, then he was kind of like, nah, next. But once folks like Scott came in with a powerful sort of baritone thing going on, it was a bit of a game changer.
Yeah, and thank God Scott didn't have a voice similar to Robert Plant, because we would have we would have continued in that direction. But I mean, Scott was such a good balance because he understood a great song, and his style was at the time more like Jim Morrison and touching into Bowie, and he was just such a verse singer, and the fact that he did choir when he was younger and just understood harmonies and just what a great melody is and the different tonalities in his voice, that it was really a treat to not have the type of singer that was prevalent from the other bands that I just mentioned. That way,
he wasn't even well versed in Zeppelin. Scott wasn't really too hip to Zeppelin. I mean, he surely knew who they were, but he didn't own any albums. And I think that's what was really beautiful, because Scott brought a lot of things into our world that we really knew nothing about, and vice versa. So it was this kind of groovy introduction to different things.
The legend goes Robert and Scott meet at a Black Flag show in '85, talk, realize they're dating the same girl, and instead of getting into a dust-up over it, decide
dust up.
We're done. We're both done with you, but we're forming a band. Is that true? Because that's a legend that I've carried around with me for the past 25 years. I know they met at
Fender's. They met at this place called Fender's Ballroom.
down in Long Beach.
I don't know what. I actually saw the original Peppers lineup there. It was Jack on drums, Hillel on guitar, and Flea and Anthony and I.
Great nasty club.
The Meat Puppets opened for them. Kurt and Chris. They were kids, man.
Yeah,
and. Yeah, it was an interesting place. Was it a warehouse or what was it?
Yeah, it wasn't really a proper facility. It was more of a warehouse. Definitely wouldn't reach the codes today.
No. So that's where they kind of met.
We're here. We're celebrating the 25th anniversary of Core, which is 4 CDs, 4 DVDs, B-sides, demos, a couple of legendary live performances, and then sort of like a remastered version.
And if you get the deluxe box set, it's got an LP, 180 gram in there too.
Oh, no kidding! That's awesome. And while we're here celebrating that, my final question is: last time we spoke, you guys were listening to demo upon demo upon demo, looking for a new singer. So how's that going? He said expectantly.
It was we've been doing a lot of listening. We've heard a lot of singers. It's let's just say things are in the oven. Things are cooking. Things are cooking, and they're smelling really good right now.
We can give you an exclusive.
Oh, please.
Let's see what we got here. Should we give them the last track we did?
Give them the one we were working on last night, because that one was so rocking that it might just blow. If people listen in their cars, it might actually blow up their speakers.
Right, hang on. Spectacular.
Well, all right then. I've been trolled by Stone Temple Pilots, and that seems like an excellent way to finish out this interview. Thank you guys so much, not only for making time today, but for writing the soundtracks to all of our lives. I don't know if you appreciate it, but you've made a massive contribution to so many of us, and I can't thank you enough.
Don't make me blush now. Come on. You're going to make me cry.
Make yourself blush with that last bit of shenanigans you pulled on me. Thank you. I literally had goosebumps being like, oh my God, an exclusive? Really? Last track we're working on? Ha ha, bloody ha. But I got to tell you, this has been one of the greatest conversations that I've ever gotten to have. You're the best. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you.